Turn face the audience, please.
Helen Yee here at the Palms, being joined by the one and only, the former Bellator and UFC lightweight champion, the Underground King, Mr. Eddie Alvarez. Great to see you here.
Awesome to be here.
Yeah, so we wrapped up the BKFC 41 press conference earlier today, and you'll be making your bare knuckle debut later this month, April 29th, in Colorado against Chad Mendes. How did all this come about?
Yeah, so Dave's a Philly guy, and we spoke like extensively since bare knuckle started. Like I was thinking about the idea of it. It was still in its infancy when Dave started. So like the idea of kind of joining was like we weren't quite there yet. It wasn't as large as what it is today, and it's kind of always been on my mind. This is how I begun fighting. The only reason I got in the fighting period is because of how many street fights I got in, and I did well. I did well on the street. I always won my fights, and I sincerely thought that I couldn't lose a fight as a young kid because of how many fights I won. So this is how it all begun for me. So like, why not like take the gloves back off and give it a whirl.
Yeah, definitely. And I know in the press conference you did mention that you've had more street fights than MMA fights, right?
Way more. So like I hear the guys talk like Chad saying that he felt like he had some experience over me because he fought a bare knuckle fight, and that like guys don't know what it's like to hit a fist like bare on the skin. I'm like, I didn't know what it was like to hit someone with a glove like until I put on an MMA glove. Like I only knew street fighting. That's all I ever knew. So like for me to put a glove on felt odd. So for me, like I understand street fighting. I grew up with it. It's the culture I grew up in North Philly in Kensington, and we're back to our roots.
And how old were you when you had your first street fight?
Oh God, I couldn't even say. I honestly couldn't say. We in Kensington we would slap box, and then we would also box on the street, but like we'd add fighting in our sports. If we played hockey, we allowed fighting. So like as we played hockey as kids, fighting was a part of that as well. So like if we played hockey, a fight would break out, everyone would let it happen. So like fighting is very much part of the culture. It's where Rocky was filmed, and Kensington is widely known for fighting.
Speaking of Chad Mendes, though, what was your initial reaction when they first presented you and offered you Chad?
I love the fight. Chad's a competitor. His only losses are to world champions, and he's beaten some really, really tough guys. So, like, Chad's an athlete. He's a competitor, and I think he's the right opponent at the right time right now. I think he's a bit more confident than I'm surprised of his confidence when I hear him talk about like him and how he feels about he's gonna beat me. I'm surprised. Actually surprised at his confidence in himself of going against me. I think he pulled back a little bit during the press conference today, but like this stuff I've heard before the press conference today, I was shocked a little bit about how confident he was in himself.
But could we see you fight in bare knuckle more than once, or could this just be a one and done?
Absolutely. I loved, like, I didn't know what to expect in the training for it. I knew training was going to be a bit different because it's 2-minute rounds, 5 2-minute rounds, and when you're training for MMA, you're doing 5-5s, getting ready for title fights. It's a lot more training. It's actually a lot more wear and tear on your body with the wrestling, the kicks, the knees, all that. This training camp has been a lot less strenuous. Like, it allows you to train multiple times a day and not get beat down, like not beat yourself down completely. So like, I really enjoy the process of getting ready for a bare knuckle fight a lot more than I do in MMA. It's a lot simpler. It's a lot more rest, a lot easier.
But speaking of your MMA days, like I mentioned, you're former Bellator champion and UFC champion, and being here in Las Vegas, they did recently film The Ultimate Fighter between two guys that you've known pretty well, Michael Chandler and Conor McGregor. When those two eventually fight, who do you think wins that?
If I felt Mike was going to go back to his wrestling roots and take Conor down and wear him out and kind of ground and pound, Mike has the ability to do that to a lot of guys. He could have done it to Gaethje. He's could have done it to a lot of his opponents, and he opted to stand in the ring and bang and do what he's doing. He's winning fans over, so that's great, but he's not necessarily winning as many fights as he can be with the skill set he has. So I think he thinks that he can knock Conor out, and I think he's going to stand and do what he's been doing rather than take Conor down. So that being said, I feel like Conor has a huge, there's a real disadvantage to Mike by trying to go into a striking match with Conor McGregor. I think there's a huge speed advantage on Conor's part, experience advantage on the boxing and the angles and the timing. Conor's tricky, and Mike's not very tricky. His game as far as striking is very simple, especially when Conor's people will look at it. So the fact that I think Mike's not going to implement the right game plan, I think he's going to lose a striking battle to Conor.
But what about Conor not being in the USADA pool right now? Do you think that he'll eventually enter, or what do you make of that whole situation?
If he wants to compete, he's going to have to. But for right now, if he joined it, I think he's on steroids. So if he joined it, he would fail the test, and that would be a problem. So if you're on steroids, you can't join the USADA pool. It's it's a catch-22. He wants to compete, but if you go ahead and join it and you're on gear or you're on something, then you just have to eventually wean off of whatever you're doing or get off of it completely and then join and just be a straight competitor and an athlete, a clean one.
But for all your fans who can't wait to watch for your return and your bare knuckle debut April 29th in Colorado, what would you like to let them know?
I'll be defending my most violent man in this sport. I'll be defending that title against Chad Mendes. I'm going to put it up. I'm going to create a belt, and I'm going to walk in there. I'm going to defend my most violent man world title. I think when me and Gaethje put on a show that long ago, and that went up for grabs there, I won it, and I still have it, and I'm still deemed the world's most violent man, and me and Chad Mendes will fight for that on April 29th in Colorado.